Hey guys, thought I would get around to reviewing the Spyderco Spy DK. This is a knife in a similar strain of like the UKPK and Pingo. This one was designed specifically to meet the requirements Denmark has for a folding knife. It's a slip joint design with no locking mechanism, as slip joints do not have. Let's talk about the steel first. This is my first experience with N690CO. It's a steel from Bowler, and it's along the similar composition of VG10 and 154CM. I've heard some people equate it to the European version of S30V, but S30V has higher vanadium content. There are differences, and generalized S30V would have better edge retention and like abrasives because of those vanadium carbides. I really like this though. In my use, it sharpens up really easy. It has good grindability, which is nice, especially if you're beginning sharpening. It's nice to have something that's easy. It takes an edge like VG10. That's probably what it reminds me of the most. It's a very nice, crisp, sharp edge, and just takes a razor's sharpness easily. High carbide steels tend to, even in perception of the touch, tend to feel a little different, more aggressive because of those vanadium carbides, that large carbide load. But I like this. You can see I just got bored one day and mirror polished the edge, kind of. It's not insanely high, but it's purely aesthetic. I don't normally do it because I don't find it entirely practical for my uses. But you can see I used it. I don't know what all it hit when it was getting these scratches and stuff. Any damage that occurred though, it tends to roll versus chip, which again is another one of my preferences. The chipping, you know, just seems like it's harder to sharpen out because I think it's generally taking out deeper chunks into the edge, so to sharpen back more to get it all out. There was one time I was cutting open a box and it hit metal loud enough that I could actually hear it like screech when it ran over it, and a decent chunk was kind of sheared right off. Even then it didn't take much to bring it back. I am using diamond stones, which as I've talked about are unbiased. They cut very quickly. But again, if you're just beginning sharpening, you can, this is pretty easy to deal with. So I like it. It's performed well, and I've been cutting a lot of boxes. Obviously that's not control testing, it's just kind of real world, but I've liked it. And I actually would probably say I prefer Test 30V, which, you know, just for my use and stuff. So the handle is FRN, and it has this checkered squarish grip. It's very grippy. I've kind of mentioned it before. A simple way I'll test grip effectiveness is just pinch the blade and try and move my fingers in opposite directions. If my fingers don't tend to slide, I consider having pretty good grip. The handle comfort, you know, it's not like it's uncomfortable like this. Even with the wire clip, it isn't uncomfortable. You can feel it, but my pinky completely hangs off, so I don't really care for that feeling. And a problem I've had sometimes using knives in just this choil and the rest of the handle with my other three is sometimes it feels like my thumb is kind of just sitting on the ramp kind of oddly and kind of torquing my wrist and hand down to get a grip. And I don't really have that on this. It feels more natural. I had some problems with the Cali 3 kind of feeling like that, although it makes me feel now, if I went back to it, if maybe it'd be different because I've used this so much. Either way, most of the cutting gets focused in this forward half of the blade because it naturally sits lower, but I find it to be comfortable. And if you're worried about security, because your finger's in that choil blocking it, even if, you know, you're not going to close the knife, even if it wants to start, your finger's going to block it, no problems. The spring is rather snappy. You can hear it. And the walk and talk is pretty good. I'd say it's like a, I don't know, a 5-6 pull. It's pretty easy to pull. I don't know if it bothers some people or not, but you can see where it rides along the FRN. And the wire clip, excellent as always. I've always liked that pocket clip. So for a $44 knife, that has pretty good, you know, even for how simple it is, that has this nicely polished back spring, and the blade has a nice finish on it as well. I cannot remember, I think it's Menaggio, Italy. I don't think that's right. Somebody else corrected me, so I apologize. I'm not going to try and say it, although that person and I were discussing and thought maybe these are made by Fox. The only other company I really know that's pretty famous is Lion Steel in Italy. So, it could be made by one of those two. It might not at all. Anyway, I think for the $44, if you don't mind slip joint design and you're just looking for something really lightweight to throw in your pocket, this is a great option. One thing I did forget to mention, I think this is sharpened to around 10 to 12 degrees per side now. You can see the bevel is relatively wide. When the knife came from the factory, it averaged behind the edge around 15 thousandths an average, thickened up a little bit towards the base. After I sharpened it, I think it went to more around a 20 thousandths average, and then around 17 thousandths near the taper. Still pretty thin, and still it's cut well. It cuts well. I'm stumbling over my words. And the stock is relatively thin too. I can't remember exactly what it is. Some calipers here. So 0.1 inch thick. It's pretty thin, and for its short blade, it does pretty well. So if you guys are looking for a nice little knife to carry, more on the budget side, I think this is a great option to go. Centering's not perfect, but you know, like I said, price points. Can't be too picky on the cheap stuff, and on the more expensive stuff you certainly can. So thanks for watching as always, guys. I have something coming pretty big from a well-known maker that I'm excited to share with you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video.